expert. Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys again. Thank you so much for joining me. Live if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Also, if you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate the listen, I guess, as it is, or where I appreciate it all the same. What you're listening to is a recorded version of a live Q&A that I host most every Saturday from 10 to 11 Central. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Just search the name Joe Everest and you'll likely find it. If you wouldn't mind, if you like this type of content, if you wouldn't mind giving it a review, how about I stumble over those words? It would mean a lot to the channel if you'd share out the content. Of course, that always helps. As always, huge shout out to Caleb Ashley and the team over at Expert Stain and Seal for sponsoring the live shows. I really appreciate it. If you guys are looking into wood staining, check out their free Facebook group. It's very helpful. It's full of a lot of professionals that know exactly what they're doing. Again, check them out, Expert Stain and Seal. All right, guys, how is everybody? Great Saturday. Front Rock Fence was here bright and early. Says, good morning from Calgary. Good morning. Good to see you again. Guys, here in just a little bit, we're going to be having Nathan Downs on. He is the current president, outgoing president, I don't know what you'd say, of the Midwest chapter of the American Fence Association. They've got a golf tournament coming up here in 2 weeks, week and a half, something like that. So it's coming right up. It's actually on Monkey Island, so I don't know if we'll get into a conversation on why they call it Monkey Island. I've heard a couple different stories. I think one is what they tell like the tourists that come through, just to see if they'll believe it. I don't know. We'll see if Nathan has heard that. While we wait for Nathan to check in, I will. So Nathan's coming to us from the field as a true like fence professional. He's got like 100 things going on right now. So he and I chatted yesterday. He helps coach a football team, and they had a football game get bumped up on them. Hi Nathan, keep up the great work with Radius Podcast. Agreed. So if you guys are into listening to fence content, which obviously you probably are, check out Radius Protecting Your Radius. I believe that's probably, we'll have to ask him the exact time, but Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm 99% sure that's what it is. Guys, hope you guys enjoyed last week's interview with Andrew. Oh, there we go. Right in the comments. There we go. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Check out Nathan's content over there. If you guys, I don't know if you guys. So, guys, you'll want to tune in next week as well. We've got one great guest coming in, Michael Greenfield, and a few others from Mid-America Fence. But also, we have a significant sponsor alert. But I can't go into it right now. We're ironing out the last few details, I guess. But excited to bring it to you guys next week. How is things in the fence world for you guys? Let me know you're here. So I guess you have to accept. So this is so it's just as Facebook user on our end. Good morning, Joe and Debbie. Good morning. You have to accept some terms from StreamYard. I think when we make the post, it says to accept terms or something. I have to click on that and accept terms. Is that right? Or they'll just like give privileges anyway. All right. So, guys, as we wait, let's check in with Nathan. Maybe Nathan is audio only. Let's see. Nathan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
How's it going, sir?
I'm good. I'm actually getting dressed. So,
okay.
I was like, I had the camera on, and then I said, "Oh man, I don't have any clothes on. I should probably turn this camera off."
All right. Well, I will wait for your camera to come back on as a cue that you're ready to go.
Stand by.
Speaking of Michael Greenfield, good morning, Joe and Nate from St. Louis. Looking forward to seeing Nate tearing up the golf course on Friday. I don't doubt it. So, unfortunately, I will not be able to be there Friday. So, this is like the first year in the last several that I'm not able to go. So, my daughter has a band competition. So, not able to go to that. But we will be visiting with Michael, and we will obviously catch the golf tournament next year. It's down in Nathan and I will get into it down in Monkey Island. So there's going to be a golf tournament, also a AFA Midwest meeting goes on as well. It's at the beautiful Shangri-La Resorts. If you guys have never been, you absolutely should. It is it's just a great family resort. So yeah, it's funny. We were talking about this the other day about the fence show in Vegas, but the Shangri-La is much the same, I guess, minus the casino, but great family atmosphere. They've got a whole arcade set up. They've got just a massive amount of like courts. So tennis courts, bocce ball, just all sorts of stuff. They got a imitation Wrigley field, I believe, a wiffle ball field. So anyway, it's a great time. Indoor pool. I haven't seen the pool set up, but I could imagine based on everything else that it's pretty top notch. Okay. Joe and Debbie comment is from Rachel. Hello, Rachel. You guys know Rachel from, I'm assuming, the Rachel I know is from My Salesman. So I'm hoping that's who this Facebook user is. If so, Rachel, hello. Well, regardless of where this Rachel's from, hello. But if it's from My Salesman, how's it going? Front Rock Fences, what do you think of King Plus method of building wood fence with a 2 3/8 steel post? So I like it. I haven't tried it. I haven't put my hands on it. But one, knowing it's a Sean King product tells me that it's going to be solid, that if you want to talk about somebody that does a massive amount of just testing before he puts something out there, and he's put his name on it, the method. So you can imagine he's done a tremendous amount of testing and data gathering. No, it makes sense. So it's a 40 weight, it's a CS40, SPS40, Actually, I think it's probably Schedule 40. Pipe driven. So they drive them 4 foot in the ground, 4 foot out of the ground. They take an 8-foot piece of pipe, throw it in the ground, and then bolt on. My understanding, I've watched it a few times. So they'll nail and then bolt on a surround, a 2x4 surround over this, and then the fencing, their 2x4s would then get attached to that. So basically, it's tying it all into a steel post that is more readily accessible than maybe other steel post methods that are in the marketplace. I like it. We still have a tremendous amount of the other steel posts on our lot, so we'll stick with that. But from what I've seen, it is a very good system. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All right. We've got him back. Hopefully, he looks mostly clothed in my preview, so let's see. Nathan, how are you?
What's up, dude? How are you, buddy?
Good. How are things there in Tulsa?
Good. We're getting ready for a little football, man, as I mentioned to you. So excited. I thought I'd go rewind a little bit on your Monkey Island experience and stuff like that you were talking about. So I don't know the specifics of why it's actually called Monkey Island. There's actually like 9 different stories.
Yeah.
The best thing to do would actually be to come up into the resort and talk to Barry Willingham or Bill.
Ooh. Are you there? Nathan?
Oh my gosh. Dan Wheeler's going to watch us and blame the Oklahoma internet for why I can't talk to you.
Yeah, he gives you a hard time about the Oklahoma internet. But, so the story I heard about this whole Monkey Island, and I think this is a story they just tell the tourists that come through just to see if they'll believe it. But what they said is, so there used to be kind of like a zoo of sorts on the island, and one of the attractions was monkeys, and I get foggy on this part of the story. Either the zoo had closed or in the process of closing or something, and monkeys had gotten loose, and they took to the trees and they couldn't get them all. And so even after this zoo thing was closed for a while, there's still like monkeys running around, and so they called it Monkey Island. Now, I think that is the less true version maybe of what actually happened, but it's a fun story nonetheless. It's a story I tell. Oh, now we don't have audio. See, Nathan's a podcaster, and so they do it from their studio where everything is like. Oh, and now we lost it. Oh, are you there? Maybe. I think you're muted. I bet what happened was it kicked over to the vehicle's audio system. Maybe. Possibly. He's got earbuds in. Nathan, are you with us? I mean, he acts like he's listening. It's great content. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. For those of you listening on podcasts, I'm sure this makes no sense at all. So Nathan is technically with us. I'm pointing like right over there, but if you're listening on podcast, that doesn't make sense either. So Nathan is like technically with us, but we can't hear him. We can see him. He's cruising around the Bronco going to the football game, but we're having problems hearing him.
He's muted on his end.
Okay.
I can't.
Nathan, I think you're muted on your end. Oh, now he's gone. All right. We will wait for Nathan to hopefully tune back in. Oh, so Midwest AFA golf tournament coming up. So it's a couple things. It is obviously a golf outing, but then it's also the AFA has their annual chapter meeting there as well. It is at Monkey Island at the beautiful Shangri-La Resort. Yeah, I think they're talking about doing 2 rounds of golf. I think 1 round of golf on Friday at the main course, and then I believe a round of golf possibly Saturday on the par 3. And then some of the guys are getting together Thursday to play golf as well. If you're into golf, this is the thing for you. Let's check in with. So Tanner, here's the thing. I'm not calling the other steel posts because I don't necessarily, I enjoy doing business with these people. I don't want to just like out them here, but you know what I'm saying. Jeremy, welcome. How are you? Jonathan, what is up? Yeah, technology is always great until it's not. Oh, I see him. Let's see. Nathan, are you there? Oh, we hear him.
Oh my gosh. What? Man, come on, dude.
Oh,
So Lucas wants to say hi. Lucas, say hi to everybody.
Lucas, hello. How are you?
He's ready to rock and roll.
That's right.
Wait, so hey, this is the problem with having in the field reporting, and we don't have budgets like an actual like production facility.
Right.
So like, there's no van with a satellite feed directly to the mothership or anything here. So I've got the roof off the Bronco, so there's like terrible background noise. And so I'll mute myself as I answer things. But
No,
yeah,
you're fine.
The Monkey Island story is hilarious, man. I mean, there's literally 9 different stories out there. As I was mentioning, if anybody wants to know for real, man, make a trip up there and talk to some of those Ameristar guys that hang out there all the time. They would love to talk to some fencers and stuff about that whole facility and what they've done and where they're going. And it is, as you mentioned, it's a playground on a lake, on the biggest lake in Oklahoma. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and it's very well done. Like everything from, so we've been going there. I say we, the Midwest AFA's been there since before, like the Anchor was there, before a lot of that. Just when it was a hotel and convention center. Well, not really even a convention center, but they had meeting rooms, and it was beautiful then. Great pool and all that. But I think some of the feedback they heard was it lacked just like family-oriented things. I mean, if you're into the lake, then great, but lake season's only so long also. So they built the Anchor, which that, I tell you what, that is top-notch. That is very well done.
It's got a replica Fenway.
That's what it is, Fenway.
Not Wrigley. So
Yeah, well,
we'll forgive you. We know you're a Cardinals fan, so we're waiting for the Busch Stadium replica to come back.
yeah. For Cardinals fans, it's either Busch Stadium or it's not. Like it's Busch Stadium or it's one of the others. I don't know.
Exactly.
But we've got so down in Branson, actually, they built what do they call this? They call it parks around the world or something like that, where they have like 8 or 9 replica stadiums where it's a little league, like they have not World Series obviously, but they have big little league tournaments down there, and it's cool to see, like sit down on it feels like that. But anyway, getting a little off topic. So Nathan, what I was telling everybody was golf on Friday, right? So we're golfing Friday on the big course, is that right?
Yeah, on the championship courses, there's actually 3 par 9s that make up the main championship courses, and that's on Friday. We'll be out there experiencing that, and then Saturday at 9 a.m. we're doing a 2-man scramble. So for the first time ever in our organization, the Friday golf tournament is 100% sold out.
Oh, very good.
We capped the event at 90 golfers, and we have 90 registered golfers.
Okay. All right. So now we're trying to, if you still want to go and you haven't signed up, now we're talking about the 2-man scramble on Saturday.
The 2-man scramble on Saturday, and then we've got our dinner and everything on Friday night.
Friday night.
All of that kicks off 6 p.m. up there. We'll be eating around 7. We've got a special guest speaker. His name's Kyle Sullivan with Unleash the Champ. He's actually been on my podcast before. Really cool guy. Got some great information for everybody. But the dinner, if anybody out there in the fence world wants to attend, you don't even have to be an AFA member or anything, but it's actually completely free. We cover the cost of the dinner and everything that's going on. So you just have to find your way to Afton, Oklahoma, and hang out with us for the night. The resort's completely sold out. So there's a bunch of logistics things that we've capped out finally, which is good.
Right.
But, we got that 2-man scramble. It's at a new course called the Battlefields at Shangri-La. And what it is, Joe, it's a par 3 course, so every hole is par 3. But, bro, there's one of the holes was 241 yards.
It's a long par 3.
And they call this a championship par 3.
Okay.
So I'm like,
okay.
that sounds like my normal golfing. I don't know about par 3s. I'm like, what are we talking about, boys?
Yeah. Just bring your full bag just in case.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's gonna be me. There's gonna all the other guys are gonna be out there with like 3 clubs. I'm like, I just brought them, because
yeah.
I suck.
Yeah. Just in case.
If you go online to the battlefields at Shangri-La, you can see pictures of this, Joe. The facility looks like it's straight out of Ireland.
Okay.
I mean, the views and the water features and just the way they did the terrain, it's all elevation changing from the top of the course down a couple hundred feet to the bottom of the course, and it weaves back and forth. Just an incredible golf course. And I'm excited because I think what we're seeing at the Battlefields Par 3 is the future of what Shangri-La is going to do as they continue to update their championship holes and stuff like that.
Well, we got kind of a sneak peek of it last year because they were getting really close. So I say sneak peek. We saw it as we drove by. But the pro shop I've never seen a pro shop like this size. I haven't seen inside of it, but just the sheer size of it for a par 3 course, it kind of gave us an inclination like this is not going to be your normal par 3. With a pro shop like this, I can imagine the rest of it's also going to be top notch.
Yeah, and they've got a separate like bunkhouse up there where you could do events, so they'll be able to run independent golf events and tournaments directly from the par 3 course by itself, which is
nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I think here's the thing. Like, do I enjoy golfing? Absolutely. Am I any good at it? Absolutely not. Like, I spend more money in golf balls than I do on the rest of the weekend. It's just so par 3 might be kind of like the way of getting more folks involved in this for sure.
Yeah.
So important
and it's
to know.
Fun hanging out with fence guys.
I just wanted to hammer on this. So even if you're not registered for Friday golf, which is closed, or Saturday golf still open, even if you're not registered for one of those events, you can still attend the dinner.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Just go ahead and reach out to me anywhere on social media or whatever. I can put your name on the list. You can say you know somebody. So
very good, very good. And these dinners, talk about top notch. Last year, it was like a whole fajita spread, and I hesitate to call it a fajita spread because you've been at these lunches where there's like a fajita lunch, and this is not. This was the whole 9.
Yeah, it's top notch everything. I mean, Barry Willingham was the president of Ameristar. He knows he has immersed himself in the hospitality industry and taken what he's learned from business, from sales, from manufacturing, and introduced so many of these different ideas and processes into what they're doing up there. And it's awesome. Like, if you've never been and you want to take a road trip, it's definitely a fun place to go, and it's a cool place to take the family. My kids love the pools. They have like a state-of-the-art splash pad down there that's just it's like a water park inside a resort with the anchor. And I mean, if this interests you at all, just go on the website. You'll see what we're talking about. I mean,
yeah.
It's incredible. It really
well, and
is.
part of it is you just got to go. You just have to walk through the facility. But what was it? It was either I think it was year before last. Matt Warner and I got into a competition on. They've got the race car simulator, like the NASCAR simulator, and I don't really remember how it went, which probably means that I didn't do well in it. But I do remember that it was a really fun time. So even adults can have fun in the arcade as well.
Absolutely.
But it's a very good time. Of course, they've got the full restaurant there. They've got the bar and grill. Of course, anything you could want. And being right there on the lake. So typically, I'm kind of bummed I'm not able to go this year because usually we also have like a little meeting of the minds there at the pool around the fire pit Friday evening afterwards. Man, that's almost as fun as the rest of the event.
The Dans were talking about this the other day on My Fence Life, and they were mentioning, going to events and connecting with other people. That's probably the most important part is the networking. And I hope you guys feel that and understand that. I mean, you look at Joe, just me and you.
Yeah.
Over the years, we've known each other. I would say every time that we've hung out and we think of the fence techs and stuff like that, that we've done things together.
Yeah.
The camaraderie that we build, but the fact of it just creates this unity. So when we see each other, it's like, oh, there's my brother that I haven't seen in 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
But you can pick things up so quickly.
Yeah.
And that goes in any industry, but especially with all the things that we each deal with on a day in, day out basis of the challenges and overcoming. And if we're having success, that means we're figuring out how to navigate the marketplace today.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I love that stuff, man. Getting to hang out with your boys and girls and talk and get better. And that's what it's all about.
Well, and so we actually met at FinTech Phoenix, right? So we met there. I believe that was the first time we had met, where we were like, wait a minute, you're from Oklahoma, I'm from Missouri. How did it take us? I think that was our first time. So I had been to one FinTech before that. My wife and I had gone to San Antonio. But this was my first solo FinTech. Once was about enough for her. She's like, so all it is FinStyle. Like, oh, that's not all. Like, technically yes, but she's like, I don't understand what you Fins guys talk about when you're talking about all this stuff. So I don't know. Anyway, Phoenix was my first solo FinTech, and you and I had, we met at one of the classes, I think, and then we went and had lunch, and it was the rest is history, so to say.
History for sure.
But that's the point.
We're both like, oh man, Phoenix is crazy. Every fence tech's crazy. It only gets crazier. It's fun.
That's right.
I even think back to I had met Dan and Cannon over at My Fence Life in the Operation Epic up in Waverly, Nebraska years ago. And then I remember when I flew into New Orleans for Fence Tech, that was the next. Dan Blanc was like, hey, come hang out with us. Let's watch the Super Bowl and everything. And, man, I can tell you, just instant friends, because we're sitting there thinking we just had a blast just being a bunch of fence nerds hanging out for hours and talking business, not talking business. And, there's so much, man. It's good to create family and create that spider web of interactions and friends out there.
Absolutely. And that is one of the massive benefits. I like how you call them the Dans. Like, that is absolutely the name for that dynamic duo. But that is the point, right? Is that you meet at one fencing event, whether it is at a Fence Tech or AFA University coming up, or one of these fencing events. The next fencing event, you just pick up right where you left off. And what's funny, Fence Tech, New Orleans, we all ended up staying more or less all of us over at the Airbnb, like right across the street. So as we're in the lobby, we're like, hey, I know you. Hey, I know you. Hey. And we hadn't seen each other for a year, me and some of these guys. But you instantly just pick up right where you left off.
Absolutely.
So now you don't even, if you're in the Midwest, you don't even have to wait till the next fencing event. This is the next fencing event, is right here in Afton, Oklahoma.
Yep, that's it, buddy.
And it's not a bad drive. Like, it's actually a pretty nice drive, at least from Springfield. From Tulsa, I bet it's an even better drive.
Yeah, it's about an hour and 15 minutes out there.
Nice.
It's not too bad of a drive at all. The lake is massive. The Grand Lake of the Cherokees. It's definitely our staple lake. The only thing is, I grew up in Michigan, and I'm used to the Great Lakes. I was pretty fortunate to be able to go back to Michigan before football season started this summer. And I can tell you one thing, Joe, I miss, and Table Rock's kind of this way too, but man, those Great Lakes up north, they are sure clear.
Yeah.
And they're cold, but that is not the Oklahoma lake. Ours is muddy. You got about visibility about 3 feet down, and then you don't know what's at your feet. So,
yep.
But it's still a lake, and it does look beautiful around it.
So one funny thing about Grand Lake, well, specifically Shangri-La on Grand Lake. So there's some celebrities that live on this lake. What was it? It was 2 years ago or 3 years ago at this event. Toby Keith was just like hanging out at the bar. He's like, of course, he had like a crowd of people around him, but I was like, is that guy looks exactly like Toby Keith? And somebody's like, oh yeah, no, he's got a house like right 2-3 coves over.
Yeah.
What is this?
He's like a football field away, hanging out with us and stuff. You never know. It's cool.
I don't know what Rachel means by this, but she's questioning calling it meeting of the minds. Like, there's some like good conversation that goes on at these little talks. Now, as the night progresses, they may get off the rails a little bit, but that's neither here nor it's usually when Brett shows up.
Yeah,
Brett,
I was just gonna say, Brett and his team are always the problem starters.
well, I think the polite term is life of the party. I think that's the.
That's fair.
No, they take care of everybody there. Last time they came cruising in with pizza and a round of drinks. So there's that.
And you got to remember, they're the ones that had the what was it, the portable karaoke machine?
Oh, that's right.
Like a microphone that you sang into.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, then of course Toby Keith is there and all the. I mean, you can imagine in your mind the craziness of all these fencers with a celebrity with a karaoke microphone machine hooked to a cell phone. I mean, it got pretty wild.
No one got thrown out, so there's that. There's that. So we kept it to some sort of respectable level. But all this to say, you never know what's going to go on at the AFA Midwest meeting and after the meeting itself. So coming up this Friday, Shangri-La Resort, Afton, Oklahoma. You can come Friday early if you'd like. Golf is full, but then also you could hit the dinner. Now there are also, so we looked into it, there are Airbnbs all around there to stay. So the hotel itself is booked, but there are plenty of places to stay, to jump on Airbnb or VRBO. Did you know those are actually owned by the same company?
Are you really?
I read that somewhere. Yeah.
Man,
so
I'm gonna create another fence company then.
So that's a thing. So I was talking to a guy obviously in a different market. He did that for a little while, where he had like 2 or 3 different fence companies. Well, what he did was he bought the companies. He kept them stood up, but they all kind of like. He's like, no, listen, this is they all offer different tiers of service. Interesting. Well, I mean, it's which you see this in the automotive world, right? You see it in Chevy, GMC, Cadillac. You see it in Ford and Lincoln. You see it kind of a little bit everywhere. But that was the first time I'd heard about it in the fencing industry. Not a bad idea.
Many of those brands in the automotive industry used to be their own companies before getting caught up in the conglomeration. So
yeah,
it's a move.
Yeah, which is what he had done. Now, he and I talked about this a while ago, so I don't know if this is still something he's doing, but yeah, he had just acquired companies that just offered different levels of service, and he said, that way, if they call the top tier company and for whatever reason they're not a good fit, he said, well, you might try one of these other companies. They offer, whatever it is that these folks were looking for. I thought it was an interesting idea, especially when you get into the thought that people typically get 3 bids for a project, and if you own 3 of the 7 or 8 companies in town, you got a pretty good shot at that, I think. But,
yeah, hey buddy, I'd love to hang out and answer some questions if we got some other stuff you want to talk about. I'm going to continue. We're about to the football field finally.
Okay, guys.
And so you'll see some interesting things happening in the background. But Joe, if I'm not a distraction, keep me on, man. I'd love to.
No, not at all, not at all. Guys, if you got questions about the Midwest AFA event, drop those in the comments below. We also have a couple other things to talk about. I've got scrolling across the bottom of the screen, AFA University is coming up in November. It's in Arlington, Texas, Contractor Business School. This is worth the trip, and it's in a time of the year that's kind of slowing down for contractors. So the timing of it's really right. So we've got AFA University coming up. I'm just thinking about the AFA event. So obviously Midwest, and then we've got University coming up, and then January we've got Fence Tech coming up in Nashville. You want to talk about a good time for some rowdy guys? I think Nashville is going to be a heck of a good time. But mark it on your calendars. Double check the dates. It's in January this year. Typically, they're in February or March, but this year it is in January. It sounds like it's going to be a heck of a good time. So, guys, let us know you're here by dropping a comment in the comments below. If you've got it about the Midwest, this would be a good time to talk about that. So, Nathan, you're currently the president of the Midwest chapter, yes?
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm the president of the AFA Midwest chapter through the end of the year.
Through the end of the year.
Daniel Brown from Oakley Fence in Stillwater, Oklahoma will be heading us up for 2 years.
Very good, very good. Yeah, and if you guys don't know Daniel, you absolutely need to know Daniel, especially if you're into fishing at all. You and Daniel will get along magically, I promise.
Yeah, and Daniel's a third generation fence guy.
Yeah.
He's been moving along. He's in the process of, sooner than later, his dad Paul is going to retire, and Daniel will be running that thing. But they're like the main fence company in Stillwater. They do almost everything for Oklahoma State. And it's they've got a really nice niche business over there that family has cultivated well and has made a great reputation. Very similar to what you guys have done at Ozarks and some of the other markets, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see more multi-generation companies. I think we have a fair amount of them in the fencing industry. You don't hear from them a lot, but when you start talking to people, like, oh, okay, so there's a fairly decent representation, which in contracting anymore is getting more unique. You see people leaving contracting trades, so, construction in general. So it's neat to see that the fencing community is keeping these multi-generational companies alive.
Then there's goobers like me that have no skin in the game and decide that this is a great way to spend my time.
Well, no. You're the first of the next 3 generations. That's the way to think about it.
The way this looks, that may be the case, right?
So Daniel's coming up in the Midwest. So what else? So I hit on the the Midwest chapter golf tournament coming up Friday. We've talked about that. We've talked about AFA University coming up in November there in Arlington. And then, of course, Fence Tech coming up in January. What am I missing here? Those are kind of the next big things on the AFA calendar for us. Is that right?
Yeah, those are the next big events there.
Very good. Oh, we've got burn the boat. Burn the boat, he said. I have a feeling we know who this is. I have a feeling we know. Even though it says Facebook user, we've got a pretty good idea. So, guys, let us know if you got any questions about what's coming up for the AFA. Of course, there are also... Now, typically what I do to stay up to date is I would go to the AFA's website. They've got an events tab. Let me do this. Oh, I was totally wrong. It's Alan Bolding that said burn the boat. Alan, welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning in.
More Oklahoma, buddy.
That's right. That's right. I tell you what, I need to have Alan on sometime, talk about his marketing. Have you seen his the Christmas ornaments, the Christmas tree ornaments he makes?
Yeah, beautiful.
Very well done. The first time he showed that to me, I was like, oh. So I don't want to give it away. So, Alan, I'm going to reach out to you because I'd like to have you on to talk about where that came from and that whole idea. Christmas ornaments to be passed out at Christmas parades, that sort of thing. Genius idea. So I don't want to spoil it, but yeah. I want to show you guys kind of how I figure out what events are where, and I probably should have set this up ahead of time. Let's see. All right. So what I typically do, so this is the AFA, the Fence Contractor Business School. Of course, you can click to register. You can see topics that are going to be covered, what to bring, and all that. Of course, where it's going to be held. But what I typically do is I just keep the events tab bookmarked. And so, well, there it is. The Midwest Chapter Golf Tournament is right here. So you contact Mr. Nathaniel Downs. Looks like Northern Ohio chapter clay shoot is coming up. Clay shoots are always a good time. Gulf South chapter. You really just want to come to the Midwest chapter. The Midwest is where it's at. But if you're in a different chapter, of course, you can see what they've got going on. But here's the one we're talking about: the AFA University Fence Contractor Business School on November 5th. And then what else we've got going? We've got some Greater Chicago chapter meetings, and then there it is, January 23rd. So mark it on your calendars. Fence Tech in Nashville. Of course, they're going to be holding certifications, but if you've never been to a Fence Tech, I mean, one, you've got to go, but two, it is you can get all your education, all your certification. Maybe not all of them, but a large chunk of them taken out there. And then looks like in 2025 we're back into late February in Salt Lake City, Utah. Nate, did you go to the the last Fence Tech in Salt Lake?
I did.
I heard it was incredible.
It really was. I'm a spoiled little brat, though. One of my cousins lives in Park City, Utah, which is on the other side of the mountains to the east of Salt Lake. It's like one of the richest per capita places in the United States. But why that's important? He's a bartender and works in the High West Distillery. Many people are familiar with High West as a whiskey bourbon, and I'll tell you what, we got VIP treatment up there, me and the fence track guys and stuff. It was awesome. So y'all want to be hanging out with me at Salt Lake City, because
I'm jealous.
And I'm not even from there. I'm just saying it was from. You're like me. You're a whiskey bourbon guy.
Yeah. That High West Double Rye is where it's at for me. They've got some other Campfire's good and all that, but
Campfire's good. Yep.
That Double Rye, that's my jam for High West. Very good. So of course, I mean, I say that we're talking about Fence Tech after this one, but of course I say that because Nashville, everyone knows Nashville, or it probably knows Nashville. Right? It's just a guaranteed good time. The first time when I heard Salt Lake City, I'll tell you what my conflict was the last one. So it's the same week as a social media conference in San Diego. So I kind of went San Diego, Salt Lake City in February. Which one do we want to attend? And so I did San Diego. But then afterwards, I'm hearing all these stories about snowmobile adventures, about all this stuff going on in Salt Lake City. Like, I made the wrong choice. I made the wrong choice. But yeah, so Nashville's coming up. We're actually, I say we, so you and me, the Dans, we're all kind of teaming up to try to just bring more awareness to Fence Tech. Like, it needs a lot more, but I mean, I think if you're in the fence industry, you know it. But anyway, so we're all going to be there creating content. If you guys were at Fence Tech OKC, you saw the big studio, the portable studio that my salesmen put up in their booth. That same thing is going to be at Fence Tech Nashville. So we'll all be hosting from there, and of course, throughout the floor, that sort of thing. I'm pretty stoked for it.
Man, we do one thing the AFA does with its board members and chapter presidents is every year there's a mid-year meetings that are done. Hold on, we're walking in now. You got it, bud? So all of us collectively, he doesn't have it. He got it. So all of us collectively, you have all the leadership and across the board from the AFA there. And what we do is in July, we meet at the site for the upcoming Fence Tech, just to kind of get a feel for what's going to happen once we're there in town, different things, restaurants, event areas, right? Like, just get a lay of the land, so to speak.
Sure.
In Nashville, as those of us that went a handful of years ago. Nashville's so cool, man. Broadway is an awesome place to hang out.
Yep.
And just take in, if you're a music person, you're going to love it. I don't love country music, but I sure love Nashville, man. It is a jam for sure.
Well, even if you don't like country music, you got to have an appreciation just for live music. Just somebody getting up there and letting it rip. So the convention center is actually going to be like a block off of Broadway. It's like right in the heart of this.
It's right there. It was so cool. Like, we were walking everywhere. You're right in the epicenter. If you're staying around the Omni, which is the host hotel or any of the other ones, you're going to be right in the middle, right in the thick of everything.
Yeah, and Omni is like right. It's about as close to Broadway as you get for a hotel. It's one of the closest hotels. It might be the closest hotel to Broadway.
I think it is the closest hotel there.
I've stayed at others, and they're always like a 2 or 3 block hike, and I saw Omni's like right there.
Hey, check this out. I want to show everybody. You know you're in Oklahoma when your kids' football field.
That's a youth field, huh?
Yeah. This is only for kids, so I just want to make everybody aware of that. Yeah,
that is unreal.
We're 5th grade. Looks like they got some 3rd grade players on it right now. So yeah.
So Nate, let's use this opportunity to shift gears, maybe away from the current conversation. Just talk about how important it is to be also active in the community, right? So many of us are active in our fence companies, but let's talk about the other side, about the importance of being active in your community.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a bunch of people talking about that recently too, about how do you engage with those around you. You know, how do you make your voice known and your presence known at the same time of supporting kids like this. You know, we sponsor a lot of different things. What's up, Dave? We sponsor a lot of different things across the board within the town that I live in. So I live in Broken Arrow, and then our shop's in Bixby. So we've got different marketing strategies for Broken Arrow with the young kids and stuff, and then let alone where our shop is, and then Tulsa, and all the different surrounding cities. And they just making our presence known, letting people know that we care, and this stuff's fun, you know. And you can see there's hundreds and there's probably, you look at, there's 4 fields here at this facility. I mean, there's at least 1,000, 1,500 people across the board right now at 10:45 on a Saturday morning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot of people, a lot of eyes, but we're always looking for areas to give back. We're always looking for ways just to let people know we're here. And, you know, I've done things where, like for the Little League of Tulsa, we actually did a project for them for some new fields where we donated half the fence. So basically, like, we had a price on the fence, and then I went back and said, hey, I'd love to do like a Facebook thing and all this other stuff with you guys for the fence work out here that we're doing. And they were like, it's going to save us a couple $1,000. I go, yeah, heck yeah. And they were all about it, man. It was awesome, right? Like, then the news found out that I'm like, see? But, like, why did I do it? I didn't just do it for the hub. I did it because, you know, these kids needed something, you know, and looking at that. So you just got to keep your eyes open, man. You guys do the same thing. I see what you do up there at Ozark Wireworks or Ozark Fence. You know, you guys are doing the same thing, man.
Yeah, well, is that meme that was floating around that's like, support the people that are supporting your kids on Friday night? Like, look at the signs. We had a big football game last night, so my daughter's in the marching band, so we go to all the games. And you could see all the signs, which, of course, Ozark Fence is up there, but you see all these signs, and it really hit home of like, support people that support the community, you know. And you had roofers in there, you had plumbers in there, electricians, and like, these are the people that are supporting our community. We should probably support them back, sort of thing. But also part of this, Nate, is, you know, so a lot of the questions you see, or occasionally, is about work-life balance, right? Which that whole thing is a bit of a misnomer in itself. Like, there never is a balance. But so what you're doing right now, I mean, obviously you're branding in your community, but also you're getting some time in with the family. You got your boy there helping coach him up.
Yep. And we were doing oh, we're going to get scored on. Oh, my gosh. That dad's not happy. But, you know, that was one thing the Dans were talking about yesterday. Missing tackles. Come on, man.
Things are getting heated.
Right. The Dans were talking about this the other day, that I think Dan Blanc had mentioned something. Hold on, no, I'll call Mom. Sorry. That they were saying that one thing Dan Wheeler was talking about was just
he's going to grind it out, and everybody's going to have to wait for him, you know. And it was funny because Dan Ock was like, well, yeah, I tried that through 2 marriages, and now I'm with Pepper, you know, number 3. And I can appreciate both lines of thought, okay?
Sure.
And I wanted to weigh in on that with the fact of, I think there's a season that you can be solely and fully focused on your business, on what you're doing professionally. But I think that can't be forever. And I think because of the way that our society is today, being connected all the time, all those different things, you know, we never leave work and stuff like that. It's easy to get sucked into the world of where it's unending. It never ends. There's always something to do. I get that. I live that, which is why I have to do stuff like this, because I'm that guy, man. I'm like Dan Wheeler. I'm like, I don't give a crap. I mean, there's all these people that are demanding my time and demanding my effort and energy. But the fact of the matter is this: my family's the most important thing to me. So I have to find that balance first. So I put the family first, and then everything behind it. So how we've done that and how Ashley and I have balanced that out over the years is stuff like this. Like last night we had homecoming for Broken Arrow, and my daughter is on the dance squad. So they had like a halftime routine and all this stuff, like legit, man.
Yeah.
And so we were there last night at the game, and then of course I'm coaching today with Luke's team, and you know, it's just, you got to find where it fits in your family, but you got to know too that if you really want to have uncommon success, there is going to be a period of time where you're going to have to do things other people aren't willing to do.
Sure.
And so that's why I say I get torn, right? Because I'm sitting here thinking like I'm in that period where I'm going, nah, man, I've got to grind. Like I work 6 days a week, and the reason I work 6 days a week is because most people are working 5. So if I want to catch up to you guys and make the company be what I know it can be, I have to work. I have to be uncommon. I have to be different than what the marketplace already puts out. Because everybody else around here is 8 to 5, 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. So that can't be me.
Yep. You got to figure out what makes you different. You know, and that's part of the danger here is you hear some successful people. So I was listening to a podcast the other day and said, you know, I was sitting, you know, you were talking about sitting on this guy's private jet or something, and they were talking about, he goes, what's success? He goes, listen, that what I found is to be successful, you only have to work half the day. He's like, half the day? That sounds great. He goes, yep, you can either work the first 12 or the second 12. You just got to work half the day. And that's kind of dangerous advice. Now, there are times where that is called for. There are times where that is necessary. But I think too often, like you said, it's easy to get just drawn into that. Because after you pour yourself that much into the business, you do see success, right? Just because you've put so much just brunt effort into it. But there also needs to come a time where you step away, where your 12-hour days turn into 6-hour days maybe, because you have something else going on maybe on the private side of your life.
Yeah. And I think your team has to respect that and know that as well. You know, that's one thing I never talk about, the hours that I put in. But they all know already that I'm there at 6 a.m., leave at 5 p.m. or 6, but I really try to leave at least by 5 to get home. And then don't call me until 9 o'clock or 9:30 once the kids go to bed.
Yeah.
Like now, 9:30 to midnight, if that's not time for me and my wife, and it demands that I have to do some work, I'm going to do some work, bro. I'm going to get it done, because then all of a sudden I made a 12-hour day, 16-hour day. Like, I get that, right?
Yeah.
But you have to find a balance. It just has to. Yeah. If you care about, like, that's what I would contest when Wheeler watches this or listens to it. He needs to figure that out with Sandy, but he doesn't have kids right now. He also has to know that it has to be a limited period of time. Like Sandy ain't gonna put up with that crap for forever, because I did that with my wife, with Ashley, for years. And then finally it's like, hey, the kids aren't 2 years old anymore. You need to freaking help. And so this is what you see now. We're on the field, out in the field, live.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something like that happened to me. So what was it? It was 2 years ago. I was on the road a lot. We did a lot of training events. I enjoyed it. I was helping a lot of people. I was there to answer questions, and we were bringing people in, and very, very busy with like that until one night I was going somewhere, and that's probably the point. Like, I couldn't tell you where I was going, and my wife said, the kids are pretty okay with you leaving. Have you noticed that? Like, there's no tears. It's like, okay, Dad, well, I guess we'll see you later. She goes, I don't know that that's positive, that the kids are just so used to you being gone that it's like, oh, Dad's going to be gone for 3 or 4 days. I guess we'll see him next week. And she's like, I understand what you're doing, but also understand that it also impacts us, that we are getting used to just getting by without you. I'm like, okay. That trip did not feel great. But
that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. But, to your point about Dan, I'm sorry we're singling you out, but it's a decent example, though, right? That this could very well be Dan's season to just grind, to just get it to a point, because, like you said, there aren't kids there taking, that need time for sports or need time for education improvement, that just need a figure there. And so maybe this is a season to just grind into it, just as long as you recognize that it is only a season.
Yep. And one of my favorite things I learned in my early 20s was I went through Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And the big thing that I took away from that whole experience was nothing more than what Dave said a million times through his classes. He said, live like no one else lives today, so tomorrow you can live like no one else lives.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's real good. Because the grind has to happen. You have to pay your dues to get the results that you want.
Sure.
Whatever that is. If I want to lose 100 pounds, it's not the thing. I can't just say I want to lose it and I do it tomorrow, right? I have to be willing to pay the price to get those results that I want. Business is the same way. Family life's the same way. Everything takes that price. What are we willing to do, and how are we willing to do it, man? That's what it's all about.
Well, and you have to keep tuned into those around you, your circle, whether it is your family, whether it's your church, you got to stay tuned in. And if you do, you'll start to get a feel for, okay, my balance needs to be recalculated here because I've been shifting too far this way or the other. For me, I would get to a point where I would just get incredibly burnt out because I would just pour myself into everything, and then I would just get tired of it. I would just, so I wasn't tuning into myself, I guess. I guess that would be my point, is that you've got to stay tuned into those around you and yourself, and just know what the warning signs are.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, and I want to throw one more thing to wrap this thing up here, Joe.
Yeah.
I think about someone, and I don't know the specifics of this, but I know that it's factually like a thing. I look at someone like a Jesse Lloyd out on TikTok, right? And Jesse Lloyd's a builder. He's out there doing his thing in the Memphis, Tennessee area. And he, for however this happened, ended up teaming up, and he now works with Shane Yarborough and Bluff City Fence. And I think Jesse was doing his own thing before or whatever. But regardless of what the semantics or the specifics are of that situation, I think I respect the hell out of Jesse, because I'm sitting there going, look at this dude. He knows what he's doing. He's got a thing. He's got a shtick. He's got all of his stuff going on. And he approaches another builder, another company to work and learn and be under his guidance to better himself professionally. How many people there right now are new fences that haven't been in the business real long, that haven't done a lot of it themselves, maybe, or you're still learning? Like, pride will keep us, especially after the pandemic, as things are starting to change in the marketplace. Pride will keep a lot of people from teaming up or going to some of these older companies where there is some good leadership, where there's some opportunity. But we need to I think everybody needs to evaluate where you're at in your professional life in the industry. And if it's something you're going to stay with, would it behoove you to
approach someone like if I'm in Springfield and I'm a new guy and I'm a chuck in the truck. But do I go to a Joe Everett or a Sarah and go, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. I would love to learn here for a year. Why don't we, figure out something where I can come up here and learn under your system for a year and then see if it's going to be a good fit. And you never know where that'll end one way or another. So.
Yeah. Well, and absolutely. And that's a conversation that benefits both sides, right? So you're telling me I can have access to someone that knows a lot about what they're doing. They're good at what they do, but they just want to learn the business side? Absolutely. So let's figure out what that looks like to make it a win-win. But I think, there's a lot of guys that get into this for money, right? They say, hey, I'm going to be my own boss and I'm going to make a ton of money. Gary Vaynerchuk has a point where he hears this a lot on his end. People start their own businesses for money. He says, hey, do you think that you would make more money on your own or as the number 3 at Google or number 4 at Google or number 5 at Google? Don't do it for money. Like there are, to your point, you could be more successful maybe with an established business if success is monetary for you. So there's something there to think about too.
Stress. You can have more freedom. You can have all sorts of things working for some of our companies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, people I get it. Like, you don't see the forest through the trees, but holy cow, like, there's a whole nother world. Have those conversations, but also be aware of the organizations that you're talking to about that too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you could say those same things and then go to some of these big distributors that are now part of, wholesale equity groups and stuff like that. And they're owned by venture capitalists, but no matter how great you are, they don't care. It's just a number. So
it's tied to performance.
Aware of those things. Right.
Yeah. I was talking to a buddy that just renegotiated his employment contract, and he has a month vacation. I was like, a month vacation? Like, how does that? Interesting. Like, I think I took 2 weeks, like, pure personal vacation this year, and that's kind of where that whole Gary V thing is like. Well, listen. So why are you doing it then? If that was your only motivation, well, then you're not in it for the right thing to begin with. But anyway, there are other methods out there, I guess. Depends on what you tie your success to.
Good stuff, buddy.
All right.
Time. We're lining up back here. We're getting going.
You got it. I'll let you get going. We're just a little bit over the hour mark, so I'll start landing the plane.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you, Nate.
See you, bud.
What a deal. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to meet with Nate. Thank you so much for Nate for opening up time, obviously on a personal day for him. Guys, I think this was a good look into, maybe the other side of owning a fence business, right? That it's not always sitting in the office and grinding it out. It's also coaching up your kids, whether that's in sports or education or religion, like whatever floats your boat, but being there for your family. I think, so Nate and I actually talked about this yesterday where he said, hey, this game got moved up. I don't know if we need to reschedule I said, well, he said, I'm willing to do it. I just, I'm not going to be able to be in my office for you guys. I thought, no, I think this would be a great glimpse into the fact that, like, we're not always in the office, right? We're not always grinding it out. Now, there are a lot of 6-day weeks. I mean, Nate talked about it where he's in the office 6 days a week a lot of times, but also you got to know when the right moment is to step away and be there for the kids or be there for the community, that sort of thing. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Oh, Robert says, hey, how goes it, my dude and dudettes? Hello, Robert. Michael said, love the topic of giving back. Supporting the community and giving back gives you an amazing feeling. It absolutely does. That's one of the main reasons I enjoy doing it, just being there for the community, is because it gives you some warm, fuzzy feelings. It really does. But also, my granddad had a thought on this too, that by supporting the community, you have a stronger community, that then you get to have a business that operates in a stronger community. So it's kind of like the circle of life, right? You support the community, you bring the community up, you grow the community, So then now all of a sudden your business is in a strong and growing community rather than in a stagnant community. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. Being there for the community that supports you is good for yourself down the road, but also next generations down the road as being the business that helps grow a community that you live and play in. It all kind of works together. So guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you listening if you're listening to this on a podcast. As always, if you're viewing it and you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. It really helps, or following the Facebook page. However you enjoy watching us, it does help if you like, subscribe, follow, and do all of the things that everyone always asks you to do. It does make an impact, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned next week. We've got Michael Greenfield with Mid-America Fence Supply. Also, a massive sponsorship announcement is coming out as well, so you'll want to tune in for that. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next week.